The boxes sat in my hallway, 6 of them lined carefully against the wall outside the master bedroom, my master bedroom, the one my late husband Vincent and I had shared for 36 years, the one I had occupied alone for the 11 years since he passed away. The labels were written in my daughter-in-law Margaret's neat handwriting: kitchen, linens, Vincent's closet, nightstand. She had labeled the box containing my own nightstand belongings using my dead husband's first name. I had only gone to the grocery store. I had been gone exactly 53 minutes. When I left, my bedroom was still my bedroom. When I came back, my bedroom had been packed up. I stood there in the hallway holding my canvas tote bag. Inside it was a half-gallon of milk, a small wedge of cheddar from the deli section, and bananas that were exactly 3 days away from becoming too ripe. And I stared at the boxes for a long time. From inside the master bedroom came the scraping sound of furniture sliding across hardwood floors, a man grunting, my son Theodore's voice saying, "Just push the dresser flush against the wall, babe. We'll figure out the rest of the setup tonight." Marguerite answered from inside the room. "Theo, can you grab the curtain rods from the truck? I want to replace these before bed. The kids' bathroom stuff needs to go into the closet first. The kids' bathroom stuff, the truck, the dresser against the wall." I lowered the tote bag onto the hallway bench Vincent had built for me back in 1989. Slowly, very slowly, I walked toward the open master bedroom door. I stopped at the entrance. Marguerite was kneeling beside the window, unrolling cream-colored patterned curtains. Theodore stood near the far wall, pushing my dresser. My dresser, which had belonged to my mother and had stood in this room since 1988, into a corner where it had never once been placed. My grandchildren's overnight bags sat on the bed I had slept in alone for 11 years. The duvet had been removed. The pillows were lying on the floor. Marguerite noticed me first. She smiled. It was a wide, bright smile, practiced and prepared. "Florence, hi, I'm so glad you're back. We figured we'd get a head start while you were out. Don't worry, your boxes are labeled and ready to move down the hall." Theodore turned around. His expression was the careful, uncomfortable look of a 46-year-old man carrying out a plan his wife suggested before fully thinking through what it meant. "Mom, hi. Mom, we were going to talk to you about this tonight after dinner." I did not step into the room. Theodore. "Yes, Mom." Marguerite. "Yes, Florence. What exactly is happening in this room?" Marguerite stood up and dusted her hands on her jeans. Then she smiled again, the smile clearly rehearsed for this exact conversation. "Florence, Theo and I have been talking. We've spent weeks discussing the kids' room situation. Laya and Hugo are getting too old to share a room, and the third bedroom feels cramped. And honestly, you don't really need the master bedroom anymore. It's such a large room for one person. We thought maybe we could switch things around. You could move into the third bedroom. It still has the morning light you like. The kids could split the master and second bedrooms. It just makes more sense for the family. Theo agrees." I turned toward Theodore. Theodore still would not meet my eyes. "Theodore?" "Yes, Mom." "You agree?" He swallowed. "Mom, I think it makes sense. The kids need more space. You're alone in here. It's a really big room for one person." I allowed that sentence to remain in the air for a moment. Then I asked very quietly, "Theodore, how long has your family been living in my house?" He closed his eyes. "Mom." "Theodore, the question." 3 years. 3 years and 4 months, sweetheart. Since the September your contract fell apart, and you and Marguerite and the children moved into the second and third bedrooms just for a few months. Mom, just until we got back on our feet. That was 3 years and 4 months ago. Mom. Marguerite. "Yes, Florence. How much rent have you paid me in those 3 years and 4 months?" Marguerite's smile twitched slightly. The twitch looked exactly the size of a thought she had hoped never to explain aloud. "Florence, we contribute to the household. How much rent in dollars have you and Theodore paid me total over 3 years and 4 months?" A long silence. "None." "None. Thank you, Marguerite." That was the answer. "Florence, I'm not finished. How much have I spent on groceries for 5 people during those 3 years and 4 months?" She said nothing, so I answered myself. "Approximately $32,000 according to receipts I kept." "How much have I spent on utilities, gas, electric, water, internet, for a house built for one person that now feeds, heats, and lights 5? She remained silent. "Roughly $18,000. How much have I spent on the children's needs? Hugo's reading tutor, Laya's gymnastics, the dental work last spring, the school clothes every August because you told me you couldn't manage it this month." Silence again. $26,000 total. In 3 years and 4 months, your family has cost me approximately $76,000 in living expenses, in addition to living here rent-free. And today, while I was buying the milk and cheese you'll all eat tonight, you decided to pack up the master bedroom because apparently I don't need it. Is that an accurate summary? Margaret's face had gone pale. "Florence, you're twisting this—" "I'm not finished. Theodore." "Yes, Mom." "This is my house." "Yes, Mom. My name is on the deed. Your father's name was on the deed, too. When he died in 2014, ownership transferred solely to me. You and your brother and sister were listed in the will as beneficiaries after my death. I am not dead. Are you aware that I am not dead?" "Mom!" "Theodore, are you aware that I am not dead?" "Yes, Mom. I'm aware." "Then explain to me how you and your wife reached the conclusion that the master bedroom of my house was something you could rearrange while I was out buying bananas." Theodore covered his eyes with one hand. Marguerite spoke quickly. "Florence, listen. We didn't mean for this to feel bad. We can put everything back, absolutely everything. We can sit down tonight and discuss it as a family." "Marguerite, take your hands off my curtain rods. Put down the curtains. Step away from the window. Theodore, move my dresser back where it belongs. Both of you, now." They stared at me for a second. Then they obeyed. Marguerite placed the curtains back on the bed. Theodore slowly pushed the dresser across the hardwood floor again, leaving a pale scratch across the wood that I already knew would never fully disappear. I walked into my bedroom. I picked my pillows up from the floor and placed them back on the bed. I folded the duvet and laid it across the chair beside the window. Then I walked out of the room, down the hallway, past the 6 boxes labeled in Marguerite's handwriting, and into the kitchen. I picked up the phone. I called Marcus Howren. He was the attorney who had prepared my will after Vincent died and had advised me ever since. Marcus was 79 years old. He retired from his firm in 2019, but he still answered calls from longtime clients, and I suddenly understood he had been waiting for my call for at least 2 years. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Florence." "Marcus, I want to remove my son's family from my house." A short pause. Then in the same dry tone he used during Vincent's memorial in 2014, he asked, "Florence, are they currently living in the home?" "Yes." "Have they paid rent?" "No." "Are they on the deed?" "No." "Any written lease?" "No." "Florence, in this state they fall under what's called a tenancy at sufferance. It is the weakest legal position residents can have in a property. It can be terminated with 30 days written notice. After those 30 days, if they refuse to leave, you can file for unlawful detainer. The court would likely grant the removal within 60 to 90 days. 30 days. 30 days with notice delivered by certified mail. I can draft it tonight and place it in tomorrow morning's mail." Marcus. "Yes." "What about the children?" The children are dependents of their parents. They go where their parents go. That responsibility belongs to Theodore and Margaret, not you." I closed my eyes. "Marcus." "Yes. Vincent told me in 2013, the year before he died, 'Florence, if Theodore ever moves back in, give him 8 weeks. If he's not gone in 8 weeks, call Marcus.' I gave him 3 years and 4 months." Silence sat between us for a moment. Then Marcus said quietly, "Florence, Vincent told me the same thing. In another conversation, he said, 'Marcus, my wife will be too kind to Theodore. When she finally calls you, don't argue with her. I've been waiting 11 years. Marcus, yes. Draft it. Florence, it will be in the certified mail queue by 9 Gauss tomorrow morning. Marcus, yes. Make it 30 days, not 60, not 90, 30. Florence, it will be 30. I ended the call. Then I made myself tea. The kettle whistled. I poured the tea and sat by the kitchen window. The maple tree in the yard had turned the same orange shade it always became in late October. Vincent planted that tree in 1985. A few minutes later, Theodore entered the kitchen. He sat across from me at the table. He had removed his work boots. His socks didn't match. "Mom." "Yes." "Marguerite is upstairs putting everything back the way it was." "Good." "Mom, I want to apologize. I never should have agreed to this. I should have stopped her when she brought it up last week." "Theodore." "Yes." "Last week." "Yes." "She suggested this last week." "Yes." "And the two of you spent a week discussing the plan to move my belongings out of my own room while I was at the grocery store, then tell me over dinner once it was already done so I would accept it because the work was finished. Is that correct?" He said nothing. "Theodore, tell me how that dinner conversation was supposed to go." He stared at his hands. "Marguerite said you'd be upset at first, but eventually you'd come around. She said you always come around. She said the trick was doing it while you were out, because if we asked you first, you'd say no. But if we did it and showed you afterward, you'd adjust." I closed my eyes. She said I always come around." "Yes, Mom." "Theodore, how many times in 3 years and 4 months have I come around to changes Marguerite made while I was away?" "Mom." "How many?" He swallowed. "A lot." "Name 3. "Mom." "Name them." He shut his eyes. "The garage was reorganized while you were visiting your sister in February. The dining room rug got replaced while you were at the dentist last June. The kitchen cabinets were repainted while you were at your bridge group last summer." "And what did I do afterward?" "You said it looked nice. You said it was fine. You came around." "Yes, Theodore. I came around because the alternative was causing conflict in my own home, a home where I was no longer the only adult, and because Margaret is very skilled at presenting every change as something I had somehow already agreed to. Today's bedroom incident was simply the largest version of an experiment your wife has been running for 3 years and 4 months. The experiment was this: how much of Florence's house can we change before Florence stops coming around? Today she finally found the answer." He remained silent for a long time. Then quietly he asked, "Mom, are you making us leave?" I looked at him across the kitchen table. My son, 46 years old, the same little boy who once climbed onto Vincent's lap during a thunderstorm in 1981 and asked seriously whether thunder could hear him crying. "Theodore, I'm giving you 30 days. The notice will arrive later this week by certified mail. I'm not trying to destroy you. I'm reclaiming my own bedroom and my own kitchen and my own dining room. You, Margaret, and the children have 30 days to find another place to live. I will not pay for that place. I will not co-sign anything. I will not cover your security deposit. You are 46 years old. You and your wife will figure this out the same way every other couple your age does. Mom, Laya, and Hugo. Laya and Hugo will live in a smaller apartment. They'll sleep in bunk beds. They'll eat the same cereal in another kitchen. They will be fine. Children are not harmed by smaller bedrooms, Theodore. They are harmed by watching their parents treat their grandmother like an inconvenience. He started crying. I did not move toward him. I did not soften. I drank my tea. After a while, he wiped his face. Mom, will I still be allowed to visit after we leave? Theodore, you are my son. You will always be my son. You may come here for lunch on the first Sunday of every month. Alone. Not with Marguerite. Not with the children. I will see Laya and Hugo in neutral places with you present, until I'm confident they no longer perform the version of family life they learned in this house. That could take a year. It could take 5. Mom, Marguerite is never going to apologize for this. Theodore, I don't need her apology. I'm not creating a situation where I require anything from her anymore, including her presence. Mom, yes, I love you. I know, sweetheart. I love you too. That's exactly why we're having this conversation. He stood up and walked toward the doorway, then stopped. Mom, yes, Dad would have done this 25 months ago. I closed my eyes. Theodore, yes. That is the smartest sentence you have spoken in 3 years and 4 months. Hold on to it. You'll need it when Margaret asks why you didn't fight harder. He nodded and left the kitchen. The certified letter arrived Thursday afternoon. I was sitting in the kitchen when Margaret signed for it. I watched her expression as she read the envelope. It was addressed to Theodore Howren and Margaret Howren residing at. She did not open it in front of me. She carried it upstairs. 20 minutes later she came back down. Her eyes were red. Her smile was gone. Florence. Yes. You're removing us from the house. I'm terminating a tenancy at Sufferance, Margaret. There's a legal distinction. Florence, the children. Margaret, sit down. She sat at my kitchen table, the same table she had sat at for 3 years and 4 months eating food I purchased in a house she had begun referring to as our place when speaking with her mother. Margaret, I want to tell you something I hope you remember for the rest of your life. She looked at me silently. For 3 years and 4 months, you've been conducting a small experiment in my house. The experiment was this. How much can I change before Florence stops coming around? You conducted it carefully and methodically. What you failed to realize was that I kept notes. I have a folder documenting every reorganization you made in this house, every receipt, every date, every change. I did not create the folder out of suspicion. I created it because I needed somewhere to place the strange confusion I felt every time I returned home, to find my house slightly different. By accident, it became the most useful folder I've ever kept. She stayed silent. You and I spent 3 years and 4 months participating in a relationship where I was expected to play the elderly mother-in-law who always came around, and you played the busy daughter-in-law, improving things for everyone's benefit. The performance worked because I participated in it. I participated because after Vincent died, I didn't want to be alone in this house. I traded my home for company. I want you to understand that I recognize my own role in this. I'm not blaming you for accepting what I offered, but I am withdrawing the offer. She still said nothing. Marguerite, there is no version of an apology from you that I could accept. I want you to understand that I am not looking for an apology. I am looking for your absence. The 30 days begin today. Use them wisely. Find a home. The children's school does not need to change. Your entire life does not need to collapse. You simply need to live somewhere that is not my house. She began crying. I did not soften. I did not move toward her. I drank my tea. Finally, she whispered, Florence, I'm sorry. Marguerite, yes, That apology is in the wrong order. Try again once you can place it correctly." Then I stood up and left the kitchen. I walked upstairs into my own bedroom, the master bedroom. Everything had been returned to its original place. The dresser stood against its original wall. The duvet rested on the bed. The boxes labeled in Margaret's handwriting now sat stacked in the garage, waiting to be sorted later. I closed my bedroom door behind me and sat down on the edge of my bed. I did not cry. I had stopped crying about Margaret around 10 months earlier, when I finally understood that my son had married a very careful woman, and careful people do not cry themselves into apologies they have not decided to give. Margaret, Leah, and Hugo moved out on November 22nd, exactly 28 days after receiving the certified letter. They left 2 days early, which I appreciated. Margaret did not say goodbye. Leah and Hugo hugged me at the door. Leah, who was 10, whispered into my shoulder, "Grandma, are you mad at me?" I answered, "No, sweet pea. I am not angry at anyone in this house under the age of 15. You are welcome at my home any Saturday for the rest of your life. We'll bake bread together, and you'll tell me what books you're reading. Do you understand?" She nodded. Hugo, who was 7, hugged me quietly without speaking. Theodore was the last person out the door. He carried the final box, labeled "Kitchen," in Marguerite's handwriting and placed it into the trunk. Then he walked back up the driveway and stood on the porch. "Mom." "Theodore." "First Sunday of December, noon, lunch alone." "Yes, sweetheart. I'll be there." "I'll believe it on December 3rd, Theodore. Not before." He nodded. Then he walked back to the car. They drove away. I closed the front door and locked it. Then I walked through my own house slowly, touching the walls, the furniture, the door frames, the kitchen counters. I touched my mother's dresser. I touched Vincent's reading chair. I touched the chipped kitchen tile where I dropped a saucepan in 1991 and laughed for 15 minutes because Vincent was on the phone and could not understand what I found so funny. I was alone again for the first time in 3 years and 4 months, but I did not feel lonely. I felt the way a room feels after someone else's furniture has been removed and the original light returns through the windows exactly the way it was always meant to. That night I sat in the master bedroom, my master bedroom, at the small writing desk Vincent gave me in 1996, and I wrote a single line in the notebook I started the morning Margaret labeled my nightstand, using my dead husband's first name. She said I didn't need the master bedroom. I told her I didn't need roommates either, and tonight, for the first time in 3 years and 4 months, I am sleeping in the bed my husband built for me, in the room he built for me, inside the house we built together, and the only sound in the hallway is the sound of my own footsteps finally returning home. Then I closed the notebook and lay down in my own bed, in my own room, with my own pillows placed back where they belonged, and I slept the way a woman sleeps when she has finally removed not only the people quietly rearranging her life, but also the version of herself that kept coming around to all of it.